Hello. Welcome everyone back to another episode of Energy Unleashed. My name is Suzanne with my partner Kim. Hey
Hello,
girl.
everybody.
We're sitting there trying to get ready for this one and we're doing the countdown and then it's like, what's happening? So we're always like, when we come on, we never know if we're giggling or feeling like we're frozen. It's so funny. It's a funny
It is.
concept to start these things. Anyway, this actually, it's funny that we're laughing because this is probably one of the more serious subjects I want to bring up, Kim, in that I've been having some pretty consistent, client interactions, things that I've been studying, things that I've been reading about. It's all kind of around a very, very serious subject, and I want to look at this subject from a different perspective and bring it forward for anyone. Really, really take what resonates on this one. I'm not here to tell anyone how to deal with any of this or even to deal with any of it. It is the subject of human trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, which they dub as SRA, really horrific things that happen to our children. I don't want to go into all of that as much as I want to go into this is really coming forward right now for a lot of reasons. And I've got some notes here that I want to just kind of go through because this is coming forward in a bigger way because of what's happening in the holographic kind of infrastructure. And what I mean by that is way back when, and we're talking thousands and thousands of years ago, the what we would coin the fall of humanity when the ancients were working off planet, on planet, off planet beings here, on and off, galactics. We were enslaved as a race to kind of mine gold, all of that kind of concept that we talk about pre-Babylonian, Sumerian, pre-Egyptian, all of that time period is when really a lot of this stuff started to happen because what happened is with off-planet alien races trying to capture our planetary frequencies, a lot of netting happened, a lot of hijacking happened, a lot of the alien infrastructure began um, enslaving our actual planet, which then eventually talks about enslaving us. But I want to start with the planetary thing in that during that time period, there was a lot of what we would call nets, meaning frequency fences being put up so that other alien races could or could not come or leave planet, come to or leave planet. There was a enslavement of sorts around our planetary system, and it had a lot to do with our Stargate portals, which are now, if you're studying anything on our Vibe Tribe or maybe even watching some of these, we're understanding now all these Stargate portals are opening up again. Our ley lines in our Earth are activating again. Our frequency fences are dropped because of all of the holographic workers out there that are putting the planet back online. But it's important to understand the history a little bit and human trafficking and that this goes way, way, way back because this is how the off-planet races get their fuel and their food. And whether we want to even consider our human bodies as a food source, which is horrific to think about, also it's our luge, meaning our fear,
Mhm.
meaning our frequency of fear. And that's why I want to bring this forward so that we can kind of move through some of the fear of the horror of all of this so that it can assist us in continuing to drop these frequency fences and not fuel more AI programming that is going to control us in keeping us scared about this. So the way that this works is we fence and we frequency change around the planet. We change inside the planet. It changes the wave patterns. Let's think of even your cell phone
Mhm.
when I can't get through and my cell phone isn't working, it's because something's blocked or something's interfering, or I have a program, or on my computer, I have a virus. Okay. We've been attacked many, many, many eons from frequencies already around our planetary system that doesn't let us get the mother frequencies of the God source. And this has been going on for eons. The mother frequency of the God source was the first, I guess, hijackable thing that really affected us because when our mother frequencies from our planet are gone, we're not safe. When we're not connected to our mother earth frequencies, much less our mother God frequencies, our creational aspects of being nurtured gets jeopardized, right? We don't have that connection. Hence, we experience separation. Hence, we're scared and fear filled,
Mhm.
and we're mind controlled. So, all of the mother frequencies got hijacked way back when. Now, a lot of people even believe at that time, eons and eons ago, that our actual moon is not even an actual real moon, that it's a structure that was brought in to even further control
Mm.
humans in terms of the frequency in women controlling our periods, for example, our cycles, our emotions, et cetera, et cetera. And that moon cycle controls everything on our planet, the tides, the et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of people even bring it further into that programming that the lunar, which again is female,
Mhm.
okay, is a construct in the sky that's even more nefarious. And so all of this has been kind of skirted, conspiracy theories, rabbit holes, all these years. But now let's fast forward because underneath all of that nefarious agenda has always been sacrifice, has always been human sacrifice, has always been women in a different position than men. It created the patriarchy, it created the women, being removed from the Bible, and on and on and on and on it goes. And now here we are in 2024, and we're still struggling with not wanting to even look at nor believe the horrendous things that are happening right under our nose with
Mm.
children and women being taken. And, mostly it is children and women because of the procreation, obviously. And they want the children because of the young blood and the human sacrifice of all of that. It's disgusting and it's horrendous, and nobody talks about it. But why it's happening right now, really extensively, is this mother God energy has come back into our planetary system in our hologram. The Earth is coming back online. Our Stargate portals are being reset. We are having more interaction with the cosmic in a divine mother frequency.
Mm.
So, what is happening for many of my clients? I'm seeing unbelievable amounts of karma and or family lineage abuse coming out, all having to do with mother issues. And it is over the top. I can't tell you how many people have been in my office saying I'm dealing with mother crap. I'm dealing with lineage lines of mother crap.
Mhm.
And it's just garbage coming out having to do with this maternal safe issue. So when things happen in the bigger hologram, they happen on an individual level. When they happen on an individual level, they happen in the big hologram because we're micro macro partners, right?
Mhm.
So it is going to come out more and more and more how horrendous this whole entire operation is. Whether we want to think that it's going through, the Vatican, whether we want to say it's London and England and the royals, whether it's the elites, whether it's the politicians, it's all of it.
Mhm.
And it is going to be cracking open more and more and more because this lunar energy of false dark mother energy is being taken back by the divine mother energy. So therefore, this is going to come forward more and more. And I don't want to get into the atrocities as much as why the hell don't we want to look at it?
Mm.
Why don't we want to talk about it? Why don't humans want to believe that this disgusting, horrendous awfulness is a thing?
Yeah, it's hard for your mind to actually wrap itself around the
Yep.
idea that in this day and time we're in, where there's so much available to us and technology and all the things, how could this possibly be happening?
Right.
It's like a bad movie that I just want to shut it off and walk away.
Right.
Because it's just too horrific to understand. And so I think that's part of the fear, denial,
Yeah.
we don't want to look at it because I'm sitting in this like lovely little home, comfortable. I have feet, I have food, I have the things that I need, but to then step outside and make myself vulnerable to something that is so horrific is really difficult.
And I think that has worked for so many
Hmm.
eons that non-participatory even thought pattern, much less doing anything about it, non-participation has worked and it will not work for much longer.
No.
And that's what I really want to press is that, these cracks in the so-called fake wall of keeping this behind the curtain is not going to work anymore. And more people are coming out. And what I really want to stress to listeners if they choose to even take this is be courageous enough
Mhm.
to go down the rabbit holes or listen to the podcasts or read the books. And you don't have to believe it all. And it makes your stomach sick. I mean, I did the same. We've done it with the secret space program stuff. That is stuff that your head you just can't even get your head around that something is really happening in that regard on other planets, and we think that it's all science fiction. This
Oh my
is
God, I'm getting so emotional.
right?
Sorry.
This is what happens. And we start to get hot and we start to not be able to breathe. And this is why we run away from it. But until humans start coming forward and understanding this micro macro relationship, we are never going to get this fully disclosed and out in the open and make it shined upon and make it go away by doing the shining on it. Put the
Mhm.
light on it. And this is really, really in a bigger scope right now. I cannot tell you how big it is in terms of Mother God is taking back her planetary system and her
Mhm.
species. The Mother God frequencies is different than Mother Earth frequencies. Mother Earth is her baby, and she will take this planet back and is taking this planet back. And when that happens, these so-called ley line activations and Stargate portals, when we close the nefarious ones and open up the divine ones, when we get rid of the tunnels that are moving babies in the middle of the
Ugh,
night and fill it with love light to talk to the cosmos, this is happening right now, regardless if we want to believe it or not. And it is happening in energetics. And so for people to still do this, that I don't want to hear that because it makes me sick and it makes my head, worry, then get skilled. Then start doing the practice of being a productive empath and human being in that feel the horror, send it through. Feel the horror, put it to the Akash. If we do not start get this fear, horror, disgust, terror into the Akash, this will never stop.
right.
It will never stop because the Akash is where it holds all of the feelings of what's happening, all of the actual records of what's going on here. And new incarnates have to go through the Akash before they come into a planetary existence, and they need this information. So if you want to do anything to help this, oh, I'm a little lady in White Bear Lake. I can't do anything about human trafficking. The hell you can't. You can pray it through. You can pray it through on how this affects you as a human or a mother or a woman. And this is important that we start doing this right now, or things are not going to ever really come to fruition with this.
It's the pray it through is a really, really profound and great way to move that, like you said, the fear, the trauma, depending on, I'm sure that there are so many people out there that have experienced trauma around this, and that it's hard for even a person that's gone through it to figure out what to do with this. Like, what do you do?
Well, and
And
and it's so mind-boggling. And I mean, me as a grandmother of, 2-year-olds, of 6-year-olds, these are the ages where they're literally taking these children and trafficking them and or raping them and or even killing them. And for me to fathom my little teeny tiny loved ones at that age, I can't get my head around it. It just wants to shut me down. But if we shut down, then it keeps happening. And
Mhm,
it's really critical for us to stay open to the possibility that it could be
mhm,
and or get to a place where this is not acceptable. I don't consent. And I was recently listening, there's so many podcasts going on this right now. Periodically, I listen to Danny Henderson, and she can get really crazy. She can just really go off. She's I think she's in London or England or something. She's got the cute little accent, but she had Kathy O'Brien on, who is very famous for this stuff.
mhm,
Kathy O'Brien's probably around my age. She had Rachel Vaughn on, who is from Australia. And then she had another gal, Gloria Masters, I wrote down. These three women have been in the MK Ultra program, and it was horrific. I mean, I had this on up at the cabin, and my daughter from the other room said, "Mom, turn it off." And I'm like, "Well, okay, but this is important." And she's like, I can't do anymore. I would listen to, like 15 minutes, I have to shut down. So in that case, yes, if that's what you do and you have to shut it off because you're triggering for your own personal reasons, shut it off, but
mhm,
maybe revisit it. So I listened to it in probably about 6 or 7 different chunks because it was so overwhelming. And whether, they're going to get bashed, which they did, by the way, then there was this huge backlash of you're all full of crap. This is all, you want your 10 minutes of fame. It's all fake. I mean, the horrendousness of their stories, especially Kathy O'Brien has been around forever and really has her books out there and went to Congress and has absolutely called out past presidents
mhm.
blatantly. And still nothing's been done for years and years and years. It's
Right.
it's just like the Epstein files, where are they? It's just like the Catholic priests. What happened? We get two steps forward and then it stops. And I think that's because no one wants to hang on to this stuff and deal with
Mhm.
it. But this is coming out more and more and more. And these three women were so incredibly courageous because think of that. Think of having that vulnerability to put not only your horror out, but put your story out for people to then turn around and attack you.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair to anybody or anything to be attacked for what that person may or may not have experienced. It's just because we don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and I think people that have lost their lives over this, honestly,
Oh,
trying to capture or uncover or do any there I know people have lost their lives going
yep,
after this
yep.
because it's been a long time that this has been going on, and the people that are involved, like you said, whether it's the elite, our political system, whoever is involved in this, they've been able to do a lot of damage. And yeah, it's really
And
scary.
it's really funny because it's so big that you can't even get your head around it. And on the very same level,
Mhm.
it is so small that this could be taken down, meaning this the web that it has created of nefarious agenda is so big because this has been going on for so long and
Mhm.
the manipulation of these people and I have this on you so I'm going to control you, all of the way that they've done it makes this web gigantic. I hold this over you so therefore you have to be quiet. Okay, so this is gigantic because it's been going and going and going for so long, right?
Mhm.
But in reality, what they were saying is the top of the actual hierarchy is quite small. The
Yeah.
actual top is quite small. It's this that seems overwhelming.
Mhm.
So if we could start to allow ourselves to really infiltrate this and call it out and not stand for it and don't consent for it, it's easier to get that handful of people that are
Mhm.
really the controller system because
Yeah.
the actual controller system of our planet is in reality quite small compared to 8 billion people. 8 billion people. 8 billion people on a planet are putting up with this for a handful of nefarious agenda. But what we really want to understand is this is a dark net agenda that has been around for so long and
Mhm.
it is changing in the holographic infrastructure. So this is the time to jump on the bandwagon to not allow it any longer because they're losing the actual power in the hologram. And that's very important for people to understand, whether you get it or not. Just understand that the shift of them being able to hold on is they're desperate right now. So these are pulses that come through an AI experience on our planet into our humanness. It pulses information and mind control into us on an ongoing basis for being scared and really has to do with mothering. It has to do with procreating. It has to do with you're not as good as the male energy. You don't have, any worth. It still rings our safe worth and enough constantly
Mhm.
through the pulses that are in this AI programming. And it has happened since day one. I mean, since that time period I was talking about.
Mhm.
And this is purposeful to keep the women in a place of feeling non-worth. Now, when we just went through this political mess that we just went through in the last month here, this raised a lot of shackles for women and women's rights. And people are pissed right now, which is great. It's about time to get pissed about women's rights. And this is my body, and I'm going to protect my body. This is all pieces of the program that are coming forward. The Me Too's, all these campaigns, calling out the Diddy's, all this stuff is part of this horrible churning mess. So we as a unified force have enough power to shut this shit down if we would just figure it out instead of going, I don't want to hear it because it's too horrendous.
Yeah, I agree with you. I fully agree. And I think that digging in and going down some of those rabbit holes, as long as you bring yourself back out,
Yes.
to really take what rings true for you and what does not, is really important. I mean, I just read the other day that with the open borders, they have estimated probably 324 or 25,000 children have come across the border and they have no idea where they are.
No.
No
And watch
record,
watch the
no idea where they are.
documentaries. It
Hmm.
is horrific. They are 6 and 7 years old and they have no idea why they're here. And then they get shoved in a van and they're sold.
They're sold. Yeah.
It-
Yeah, they have no accountability for
yeah,
what's coming across the borders at this time for that type of and it's just it's hard to say you want people to be able to experience a country like ours in the benefits of what we feel are great benefits, but at the same time, when you have no idea what's coming across that border, I just think it's really important to, understand what those things are and what the solution is tough. It's not easy.
no,
And so I really look to also the government organizations. They should be reporting on what they're capturing and how many people they have found and what the media won't touch it.
no.
They don't touch it.
The Angel Network is the one that brought out that first one on child
Hmm.
trafficking a couple years ago, and now they've had another one. And though they are trying in those regards that aren't mainstream media in any way,
Right.
those even I think were kind of glorified and kind of a little Liam Neeson taken-ish for me. I mean, those
Hmm.
documentaries were still a little fluffy in terms of the horror of it when they had a couple short actual footages of people being taken
Hmm.
and babies being snatched out of strollers and thrown into vans. It just makes your heart stop and you want to vomit.
Hmm.
And we don't want to watch that stuff, but it's important for us to get that feeling of vomit back to the Akash to absolutely stand up and say use your human body to feel the horror on behalf of that child that doesn't know what's happening. I was watching another documentary about this guy who was pretending these were his kids he was taking over the border. And this little kid wasn't even 6 years old. He had to be 5, 6 right in there, completely drugged. And he was pretending that he was just really tired and hungry. And you're like, you are such a liar, and that isn't your kid. And you have these four drugged kids on your lap. And the reporter kept pushing and pushing. And there are documentaries out there. There
Hmm.
is information out there. You have to be diligent and find it and look at it if you're choosing to move this shit through because it has to be sent out into the universe more because the reason why we're so scared is because we think it might happen to us. Something might happen to me.
Yeah.
God forbid my whole entire beautiful little crystal world of, up in my palace of White Bear Lakeness and everything's fine here comes crumbling down when we know that humans are horrid. And that isn't necessarily the case either. Of
Hmm.
course, there's horrible humans. Of course, there is. So why aren't we looking at that and calling it out and releasing that? It's the ignorance of the power that we have within us. We don't want to feel bad. Well, okay, you are already feeling bad. Trust me. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're feeling bad because you're ignoring it. So get honest with yourself, right? I mean, and to think that we're really moving people off planet, that's when people start to go, oh, that's just ridiculous. That's stupid. Trust me, it is not stupid. It's not ridiculous. There's enslavement of humans, thousands and thousands and millions on a weekly and monthly and yearly basis are gone off of this planet.
Right.
They're
How
just
can they just
gone.
be gone without anybody worrying about that? Like,
Yeah.
or they're not worrying, but taking action.
Yeah.
They
I
like,
mean, thousands a month are missing, which
yeah.
turns to millions in a year, and nobody thinks that that's maybe going somewhere, or are they in, service to the bigger nefarious agenda for human experimentation? Of course they are. How else
Mhm.
are they going to be, figuring things out without using bodies? And these are things that we think are in sci-fi movies only, and they're not. And we know this in our heart of hearts. We
Mhm.
know this, and so don't think that it isn't affecting you when you do this, because it
Well,
is.
I was shocked years ago when I found out that, Minnesota is a high traffic area through Duluth.
Yep.
Like,
And Mall of America. Yeah.
yeah, right. And just Mall of America is huge too. Yeah, like you said, I forgot about that one. But yeah, it is in your backyard, depending on where
Yes.
I mean, it is in your backyard. It's happening.
Yes. And it is happening off planet. And don't be so small and ignorant to think that humans aren't used for fuel and food.
Hmm.
And that is a horrific, awful thought process. But cannibalism in some shape or form has been on this planet since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And don't
Right.
think that it hasn't gone off planet. But
Right.
more so, what I would like to even say is food is your fear. And
Hmm.
it's called luge and it's miasm in the frequencies out there. So what that means is luge is the fear. And half of the reason there is satanic ritual abuse and actual processes of rituals is to create and generate that fear. The reason why they do such horrific things to these children is to get the fear level into the blood and into the room that is feeding the beast machine. And so don't fool yourself that if you're ignoring all this and yet are absolutely disgusted with it, you're fueling it just as much in a different way.
Right.
So don't be ignorant that this isn't happening and that you're not contributing. What one wants to do is look at it face on and say, that is not acceptable. I do not consent, and send that crap through so that we can get it up to the masses in the collective consciousness and change
Hmm.
things.
Right.
And this is super important because it is everywhere. I mean, it is in the infrastructure of our churches. It is in the infrastructure of our politics, our governments, our money. It is the biggest money making thing on this planet and off planet, period. And so when we finally start to look at that, it's like, duh, you know?
Yeah, it is, but it's also, again, it's horrifying. So by talking about how to deal with that horror and the trauma that comes with even understanding or learning about this is the really important point that you're making.
And
Move it through.
if you're the person, like so many of my clients right now, and even my daughter, if you're triggering with trauma,
Mhm.
because you're already triggering with trauma and then you hear something like this, you can double trigger. I was very proud of her to stand up. She stood up and said, "Turn that off for me, Mom. I can't listen to it with earphones. I can't." She got to a point where that wasn't acceptable, and that's fine. And I honor that. So I honor that in anybody that's going through trauma, especially having to do with abuse, sexual abuse, mother abuse, whatever abuse. I mean, the stories that I have heard in my room, I can't even tell you. I just can't get my head around it. I mean, who would ever do that? Well, they do. And
Mhm.
so when we start to really realize how rampant this is, how really huge this is in people that you know every day in your life, these are going to be people that are coming forward and getting triggered and triggered and triggered. Well, the trigger is also an opportunity to go do your work, go do your EMDR work,
Mhm.
your rapid eye movement, pull your memories together, get it out, look at it, shine the light on it, move it through. Don't let it bury inside of you because it is so bad. Lastly, I really want to bring up what I've been saying with my clients is that this is karma in so many ways. This has been a karmic loop pattern that we have been in with the nefarious agenda from day one. This karmic loop pattern no longer works on this planet. The amount of light quotient, the amount of love, the amount of solar flares, the amount of actual balance within our planetary system that's coming online now, it will not support continued ritualistic abuse in family lines and blood lineages. It just won't. That's why they're so desperate right now because it is like changing in terms of we won't die with all of our angst and our anger and our horror and just do it again and again and again. We now have the capacity to move it through while I'm alive, get
Mhm.
it into the Akash, clear my family lineage, and that gifts everybody to release the family rituals, the abuses, the sexual abuse, the traumas, all of that stuff. We have the ability to not only release it for ourselves, but on behalf of our family lineage line. So this
Mhm.
is big power right now. That's why it's critical for us to get the feels out of here, the secrets out of the closet. It's no longer acceptable to say this happens, but nobody knows about it in our family.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
just not, it's just not working anymore. And
Right.
so that's why people are struggling so hard right now. So the struggle isn't a bad thing. The struggle shows we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Well, the disclosure shows that we're getting somewhere. The more
Yes.
that comes out, the more that is in a movie, in a documentary, in a media outlet of some kind, it's showing that progress is being made.
Yes.
But
But
we need more of it.
it also comes to screeching halts. And this is when the public comes into play. It is our job to sit there and say, okay, you have cracked the Epstein thing open. What happened? Now it's
Oh,
been 4 years, and where did the black book go? I
yeah.
mean, where
Right.
is that? Where is that? So it is still our responsibility to really put people in offices that are really going to do something about it. Now, however, does that even work?
I don't know. That cover up the whole idea that that list,
Yeah.
even talked about it, assumed who's on the list, but
But
there's
social
nothing
media
has happened. you
Social
know?
media is powerful, Kim, though. I mean, even
Yeah.
things like this. Start talking, start sharing, start bringing it up, start getting it forward so that the balance changes. They
Hmm.
used to have it like, oh, five priests got called out. This is a really big thing on the news, and 2 days later was gone.
Yeah.
Now social media can go, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it every day, right? I
Hmm.
mean, it's the burr under the saddle until things change.
Right.
People have the power if they would only realize that. And so these satanic forces are they work under, I'm going to absolutely get you into my
Hmm.
clutches by taking pictures of you or having videos of you when you don't know it or whatever, so that I can absolutely control you. So this is a gigantic web that needs to be cracked right here.
Hmm.
And again, the controller system is quite small. It's this that feels overwhelming,
Yeah, I
right?
think about Hollywood was a huge area to,
Yes.
dive into this stuff. And the whole idea of, yes, I want that really big movie or I want that big career. I want those things and I'll do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, when they get you in, you're in.
And
There's no getting out of it.
look at how much that's being exposed and changed even within the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
We had the Corey Feldmans, a decade ago being shited. We had, all
Mhm.
kinds of people trying to say things about how Hollywood was so horrible and awful. Even, um, you
Mel
know,
Gibson,
I was going to say
big
who,
one.
Lethal Weapon guy. Yeah. So, and then, we had the Pizza Gates, and then it's all like, oh, that's just stupid. And that's
Yeah.
all, that's all made up. Is it, really? Did you investigate? Did you really look into it? I mean, of course, everything's going to be twisted into a conspiracy theory. So,
Hmm.
the job of the human, in my opinion, is to go down those rabbit holes and look
Hmm.
at it and hold whatever truth you have on it. Don't automatically just reject it as something made up because
Hmm.
it's too horrific to imagine.
Right.
That's the point,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Send the horror back to the Akash. There's no effing way that anyone would do that to a 2-year-old. You know what?
No. Mm.
If it did happen to a 2-year-old, this is how I feel and I do not consent is what wants to go back. So it's our personal responsibility to push this bit of a wave that we've got into a tsunami because it can happen.
Hmm.
Again, 8 billion people have a voice.
Yeah.
It astounds
Right.
me,
Right. Yeah.
And yet,
It's
do we? I mean, look at what we just went through for the last 2 months. Do we really have a voice? I mean, we had the same Pete and repeat going on for the last God knows how many months here.
hmm
And again, we can't find more than the same little gaggle of people to deal with to run our country. I mean, there's 8 billion people to choose from. What
Yeah,
happened?
but why would you step into that? What
Yeah,
happens to you when you do?
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fear. Fear is lose, lose is food.
Hmm.
Just remember. So we can be fear-filled, but send it back, get it out of your body. Don't fear it all day long. If you do step into these arenas and start taking it on so personally, this is what I want to leave it with. In oh my God, now I'm scared for my grandkids. Oh my God, now I'm scared my daughter's at college. Oh my God, oh my God. Then you are just feeding the machine. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is find the place of neutrality. Honor the fact that this is maybe a potential in reality, but it isn't in my world, but it isn't acceptable in my bigger world,
Hmm. Yep.
right? I mean, that's
Yep.
the difference. Because if you bring it into your daily, into your daily walk, you're not even going to go through Walmart without freaking out. So,
Right. And it's, I guess that's the biggest point in all of this is not to hold on to it for yourself and
yes,
to, move it through. And the more that, like you said, we do this, the more exposure there'll be.
yes.
So it's a really tough subject, but like you said, it is very difficult to sit and watch something that is so horrific like that, but at the same time, putting your head in the sand and ignoring what is happening around us it's just gonna continue. So everything you said is great.
And 4 words can change everything. I do not consent can
Mhm.
change the frequencies of anything and everything on this planet if we would
Mhm.
just collaborate in that regard and
Right.
send that fear through and then replace it with love for all those, those babies or those mothers or whomever is getting so tortured and know that, some of this is soul contract, some of it isn't. Some of it is just rape and pillage. It's just horror.
Mhm.
It's just horror. And it is time for it to stop. And so Yeah, it's a big month. It's a big month for the mother dark energies to come through. So if you are someone who has had trauma, sexual abuse, things happening to you around not feeling safe and maternally safe, especially maternally safe, being created, from a woman who then turned around and basically sold me to her friends, all those horrific things are what I hear in my office. If that's your case, it's going to come up. It's going to come up more and more right now, which is not meant to be a bad thing. This is meant to shine the light on it, clear it, do the work for it on behalf of not just your own self, your Akashic record, your soul record, but on behalf of the all.
Yeah.
So just know these mother energies are fast and furious because Mother God is, and I'm not going to say she's pissed, but she's pissed. She wants her planet back, right? She wants her people back.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
think of
And
that mother energy that we have. I'll do anything to protect my kid. This is her planet. This is her kid, and we are her children. We are the grandchildren, kind of a thing. So think of it that way, and it will really, I think, incite that need to do something on behalf of your own mother energies, whether you're male or female. We all have that parental energy.
right. Right.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not
Well,
a fun subject. I get it. I just wanted to stick it out there because it's been really consistent in clients. It's been really consistent in some of the things I'm studying. There are really good documentaries out there. I don't have any that I'm gonna, say right here, right now, because I think it's important that you search and you find your own and use discernment. There's a lot of crap out there. There's a lot of garbage out there.
yeah, for sure.
Discern, discern. Okay. So take what
Okay.
resonates on this one, guys, because I know it's a biggie. Okay, on behalf of Kim and I, thanks so much. Maybe share this one if you feel it's appropriate for anybody, and maybe don't share if you don't think that it's going to help someone out. But regardless, we appreciate you watching. Hit the subscribe button and maybe leave a comment. Until next time, Cosmic Hugs.
Goodbye.